So we're now down to just two candidates, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. But the contest itself has been remarkable in the lack of real engagement in the biggest problems facing the country by any of them. Some of them are very, very well known and obvious. The Ukraine war goes on, migration coming from that, inflation, but a bigger threat still is climate change. And it was almost as if I thought the planet had heckled the Tory leadership contest. These candidates so far don't want to talk about climate change.
I back the net zero target. We need to deliver it in a way, though, that doesn't harm people and businesses.
I do support it, but we need to bring people with us. And if we go too hard and too fast, then we will lose people.
When it comes up, they sound apologetic, they sound embarrassed, and they talk about getting rid of the green levy. They talk about the target for net zero in 2050 being irresponsible or unthought through. I mean, there are lots of things to be said about those targets, but they always sound like they think it's a problem. Yes, climate change appears to be this issue that we sort of have to tackle, perhaps, maybe. But they had to be dragged by the Conservative Green Network to nail them down to the basic legal climate change commitments. These are not airy-fairy things. These are now in law following COP26. If you look to the other side of the political divide, you look at the Labour Party, it's quite confusing. If you sort of Google Labour and environmental policies, you get a series of papers which are genuinely very, very radical. They talk about radical land reform, they talk about a new food policy for people in Britain to ensure that everybody gets nutritionally acceptable diet based on food produced here, so we're importing less food. They talk about ensuring that as we go towards net zero, people at the bottom of the heap aren't disadvantaged most. In other words, there is a class element to this. And I thought, wow, this is extremely radical stuff. And then I thought, hold on a second, it feels a bit Corbyn-y. And I kind of think this comes from the Corbyn era, and it's still up there on the website. I certainly haven't heard anybody in the party right at the moment, and I've been trying to talk to Ed Miliband so far without success on this subject, confirm or deny how much of those proposals is going to be party policy going forward, because Keir Starmer told the New Statesman he's going to start with a clean slate, a new manifesto. So what is his real green policy? How seriously is Labour going to address this? I'm afraid, again, a bit like the Tories, we are not getting the very clear, almost strident, urgent, slightly panicky message that as a country we need. For both Labour and the Tories, they know how voters really think in their guts as they're going into the polling station. And it's not in the high-minded, broad sweep, high perspective way that we would like to think. There is something very basic in the way we are wired as human beings, which is that we deal with the problem that is right in front of our nose right now. So if we can't pay our bills, that is the thing that worries us most. If we are mugged in the street, crime worries us most, and so on. First problem with climate change, these catastrophic effects, we're told, are going to happen sometime in the future. So lots of people, probably including me, are going to be dead before the worst happens. And our parliamentarian system is also quite short-term. In other words, MPs understand that voters don't think long-term. It's a human problem, not just a political problem, but it's baked into our political system. The other problem, and this relates also to issues around the war and the danger of it turning nuclear or a world war, is that there are some problems so big, so scary, that we naturally close down parts of our mind when we're confronted by them. What we're not getting from the Conservatives, any of them yet, is really vivid, clear national leadership saying these things are real. These wildfires, these extraordinary temperatures above 40 degrees for the first time, people dying of heat, people dying in rivers, houses being lost from wildfires. These things are happening, and it's just the beginning. This is a really important national crisis, and we're all going to have to change our behaviour as a result. We're not getting any of that. We need to be told the truth about these big things, and then we need to be helped to change our behaviour in response. And the fact that we're not getting any of this so far from the Tory leadership contest is, in my view, both sad and slightly pathetic.